Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's another episode of Life with Acadius, and of course, I am your host, Acadius. Alright, well, once again, I'm bringing you another embarrassing story from my life. I don't know if it's actually embarrassing so much as just, it'll make you go, what the hell? And anyway, and also I guess it's kind of insulting once you get to the end of it, or once I get to the end of it. So let's just kick this off. Alright, so there was this one time where I met this girl, and her name was T.U. You heard that right, T.U. It's like T-I-I-U, I think it was spelled. Can't remember her last name. Anyway, I met her through a friend named Shoddy, and at first I'm like, ooh, okay, she's cute, you know, this typical Acadius reaction. And so anyway, during this summer that I had known TU, I was rather shy, but it was obvious that I liked her. You know, I wanted to get to know her better. You know, the fact that, you know, we went to raves together, you know, and hung out, saw movies together, and all that jazz. And so anyway, there was this one time though where I was supposed to meet up with her at a coffee shop, and I got there before she did, and I was talking on the phone with somebody, and I had this weird gut warning, you know, something to the effect of, it's just like this, I don't know if you want to call it premonition or whatever, but it was just like this image flashed through my mind of her dating another guy, you know, or her boyfriend, or something to that effect. Anyway, no sooner did I hang up the phone, I look over my shoulder, and here comes TU in her little sports car, and there's some dude in the passenger seat. Now, keep in mind, I think at this point I had asked, do you have a boyfriend? She told me no, she didn't, because, well, if you've listened to the past episodes, I kind of was picking up on, oh, I better ask if this girl or woman has a boyfriend. Anyway, so it turned out the guy that I was with her was just a friend from the military. Something. His name was Matt. Anyway, I remember that. His name was Matt. Matt was a nice guy, former Marine or something to that effect. So we chill, you know, sit on the back patio and just talk and whatever. And now initially, because it was the 4th of July approaching, and I had made plans with TU to go see a movie, and I don't remember which movie. And she said, sure. I'm like, all right, cool. And once I saw that this Matt guy was just a friend, I believed it. And I thought there was no threat. You know how guys can get, you know, we start beating our chest like, ooh, 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 you know, and we're basically peeing a circle around our territory. And we just get like that, you know, primitive. So anyway, but TU tells me that she has a camping trip she has to go to. Kind of a, not somewhat spur of the moment, and only because it was with a old friend of hers, I was like, oh, okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine. You know, go ahead. If you haven't seen this friend in a while, go ahead, go on this camping trip. And she's like, oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for understanding, Acadius, and all that. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, fine. And the 4th of July weekend, it was a 3-day weekend. And it came and went. And I was bored, to be honest, because I had made these plans with TU and had turned down all these other plans with some other friends. And, yeah, it was a lonely 4th of July weekend. You know, I know. Let's all shed a tear for Acadius. No, I was actually okay. I think I saw the movie anyway. And so here it approaches Monday now. Yeah, so 3-day weekend, so it started Friday. and then Saturday passes, and then Sunday passes, and now we're at Monday, and I'm thinking to myself, well, she did say she'd call me when she got back into town, but I haven't heard anything, because here we are, Monday, early afternoon, and I thought that was kind of odd, and I called her, and nothing happened, you know, and she didn't pick up her phone. I left a voicemail. Nothing. I'm like, okay. And then Monday night rolls around. Nothing. I didn't hear from her. I think I called again. I didn't want to seem stalkerish, but you know how it goes. And so I think it was probably it was either late Tuesday or early Wednesday that I heard from TU. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, oh, sorry, I got busy, something to that effect. And I asked her, so how was the camping trip? And she's like, oh, it was fine, I guess. I really wish I had stayed behind. And I'm like, oh, really? And she says, yeah, you know, everybody, all the people I was with, they all had they were couples, and they were all having sex in their tents. And I went down to the lake, and I just sat there and just thought about life and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry you didn't get to enjoy your camping trip. You know, you sound like you were the odd woman out, as it were. So she says, oh, that's fine, and da-da-da-da-da. And we make plans to meet up, I think it was for Friday evening. So here we are at a Wednesday, and now I gotta wait till Friday, you know, because we both worked and all that stuff. So in between Wednesday and that Friday, I meet up with my friend Shoddy. And Shoddy, I think it was probably Thursday night, Shoddy meets up with me at our local hangout, and she tells me, yeah, you need to hear something. And I'm like, what do you mean, what? And who's with her? That Matt guy that I met with TU a few days prior. And he's there with just kind of this look on his face, like guilt or something. He just could not look at me in the eye. And yeah, my gut was telling me, oh boy, you know. And so Shoddy says to Matt, why don't you tell Acadius what happened? I'm like, what do you mean what happened? He's like, well, I went on the camping trip with TU. I looked at him, I'm like, oh, okay, so? And he said, well, one thing led to another, and we had sex. I'm like, oh, now to be honest with you, the stomach bottomed out at that point. I was just like, oh man, you know, you just hear you like somebody, and then they tell you one thing, and then you hear the truth from somebody else. Yeah, so she's telling me she was down at the lake, enjoying or pondering life or reflecting on life or whatever bullshit she was feeding me. And here's Matt telling me, yeah, I did her. But it gets better, ladies and gentlemen. It gets far better. So I'm looking at him like, yeah, well, why is there seemingly something else you want to tell me? And he kind of looks down at the ground, and he says, well, Acadius, I wasn't the only one. I'm like, what? Oh, well, there were two guys in the tent, myself and another guy. And I'm just looking at him, dumbfounded. I'm like, what do you mean, another guy? He's like, well, we switched on and off. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of drunk, and I'm so sorry, and blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, well, I can't get mad at you, man. You know, whatever. I mean, we're not even an item. We're not an item whatsoever. She told me this, and I, you know, reiterated what she had told me. He's like, no, she never went down to the lake. She was in the tent, and we flipped on and off with her. I was like, wow, Okay, and Shoddy, you know, her and I were just friends, and she was just gonna out for my better interest. So, let's fast forward to when I finally got to meet up again with TU, and she has no idea that I know, and so I didn't waste much time in asking her, or confronting her, I guess you could say, and I said, "So, you want to tell me about exactly what happened on the camping trip?" She just kind of knows something's up, and she's like, "Well, I'm like, you could have just been honest and said, hey, I slept with a couple of guys." She didn't even expect me to know that much. She's like, "Well, I'm sorry, you know, it just, I don't know, you know, just excuse." And she could see I just kind of hurt by it because she knew I was into her. So, here's the kicker of this whole story. So she says, "Well, if it makes you feel any better, I wasn't enjoying it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then she adds, "I was thinking of you the entire time." What the hell was that supposed to mean? Seriously. I mean, let me just state for the record, her and I never slept together whatsoever, and yet she's associating bad sex with two guys with me. She's thinking of me as she's having bad sex with two guys in a tent. How is that supposed to make me feel better? I mean, seriously. I was just like, just looked at her with probably huge eyes, like, what the hell are you going on about, kiddo? So, yeah, to say the least, you know, things. I distanced myself from her, and Shawty and I were really good friends. And several weeks later, TU was feeling jealous of Shawty. I don't know, but says, "I want what you and Shawty have." I'm like, "Well, hey, you had your chance. You know, I was into you." She says to me, TU says to me, "Yeah, but I don't want a relationship to be based on sex." Again, I'm looking at it like, well, first off, we have to have sex for it to happen. And I think our relationship, you know, air quotes around that, is just kind of, any sort of relationship is just thrown out the window. Because you started off with a bunch of lies, you know? So, but anyway, I don't know whatever happened to her. I don't even know her last name, and I highly doubt she'll ever stumble across this video. But anyway, now you can see where it's not so much embarrassing on my part, just kind of insulting, again, with, you know, "Oh, I was having some bad sex, and I was thinking about you, Acadius." You know, you were the first thing that came to my mind. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tale. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff, and I will be glad to do more videos. Alright, you guys have a great day, afternoon, or whatever time of the day you're watching this. This is Acadius, and until next time, bye.
Giving up the cowl, eh, Batsy? Good for you. You save your friends, I get another token toxin.
Hang on. What if Sackface kills you once he's had his fun?
No, I changed my mind. We don't have to go. Caring for friends is overrated, especially yours. They can't be left alone for 5 minutes without being kidnapped.